Hello, everybody. I'm pleased to be back with the fourth presentation on CBT in the developing countries. In the last presentation, I discussed about a few things, distress-related conditions, to highlight the scope of psychotherapy in general and CBT in particular. Because many of the stress-related or distress-related conditions, whether they are mental or psychological in nature, or whether they are somatic in nature, CBT does offer help in those conditions. So we have psycho and somatic range of conditions in which CBT can be offered. Today I'm going to talk about who are the potential competitors when it comes to psychotherapy. My main focus here is to highlight that as a psychiatrist or a clinical psychologist, you have to develop skills beyond non-specific psychotherapy, because all across the world, and especially in the developing countries, a lot of people offer non-specific psychotherapy. So if you don't have skills for specific types of psychotherapy, you're basically competing with them, and it's a tough competition. But if you develop specific skills and specialize in terms of what sort of therapy you offer or you can offer, then you have a better, you can offer more specific services. And as I mentioned, I believe in the first or second talk, specific types of psychotherapies are also better in terms of clinical outcome and in terms of duration of remission or response. So as a psychiatrist or clinical psychologist, you really want to develop your skills. So in terms of who else can offer non-specific psychotherapy, most individuals across cultures believe in alternative types of healing, and many use them as the initial intervention for distress-related symptoms, mental health problems, and for other reasons. And this is like people in developing countries, even professionals I know, would think that that is more of a situation in the developing countries. That's not true. Even in developed countries, a lot of people who have minor symptoms, they try different types of interventions, herbal interventions or interventions, local interventions, or faith healers, before they seek more specialized professional help. Certainly the situation is much more, there are a higher number of people in developing countries, and that's because of access issues, financial issues, general knowledge or information issues, and all those issues. But the point here is that most people, or many people in countries, will seek alternative type of care. Second important thing that you need to understand is that when it comes down to minor somatic symptoms or distress-related symptoms or even minor mental health illnesses, many people who offer alternative type of treatment for these conditions, they do offer non-specific psychotherapy. In fact, the non-specific psychotherapy that they offer in many instances is more culturally relevant and more in tune with the mindset of the patients. So that's one reason they may have more impact on those patients. And whenever, as we know in psychotherapy, whenever there is a good rapport, good interaction, good understanding, the response is also improved. So that's an important aspect that you need to understand. But again, as I have repeatedly mentioned, that non-specific psychotherapy is only good for minor ailments and self-limiting situations, and its effects are short-limited. Third important point that you want to remember is that specific psychotherapies are directed at specific conditions, and the outcome is better both in terms of response rates and long-term benefits than non-specific psychotherapies. So alternative healers, and I'll explain a few in the next slide, while they may offer non-specific psychotherapy, the response rates and the long-term outcome is better if the patient had received some type of specific psychotherapy. And again, I'm not talking about time-limited minor illnesses, minor symptoms that just go away over time, or that one gets adjusted to over time. Now, I requested you that I'm going to talk about Raj's case on an ongoing basis. I think I presented his case in the last presentation. So I've just copied that slide over here. I'm not going to read it this time. But if you recall, and if you didn't watch the previous video, I encourage you to watch it. And if you don't want to watch it, you can read it here. But basically, Raj is a young adult. Basically, his problems are distress-related. He can't find a job. He's educated, but he can't find a job. So there are economic issues. He also smokes cigarettes, and the cigarette smoking has increased because he's feeling stressed. He's also not sleeping well. There's a little bit of appetite issues. And then he's also having strained relationship with his older brother who lives in the house. And as explained in the last talk, if you are a clinical psychologist or a psychiatrist and you see this patient, you're basically going to listen to him attentively and you are going to reassure him. And that's going to be part of your supportive approach towards him. You're going to offer him suggestions on how to help his constrained relationship with his older brother. That's going to be sort of interpersonal therapy. You'll offer him general education about his main problems. That will be psychoeducation. And you'll offer him alternate ways to think and make a few behavioral suggestions. And you'll say, okay, this is probably behavioral and cognition I'm offering. But basically, you'll be offering non-specific psychotherapy. Alternative healer will be doing exactly the same. If Raj goes to an alternative healer, that healer will be attentive to him. He will be sympathetic. There's likelihood that Raj's cultural background and that healer's background has some type of resemblance, and that's why Raj picked that therapy to go to, or that healer to go to. So there will be probably a better connection as well in terms of that communication and sympathy and empathy and reassurance part. Now, that alternative healer is also going to understand that they're going to have that Raj is having difficulties, some interpersonal relationship difficulties with his older brother. So that alternative healer will also offer some suggestions about that. He won't call it interpersonal therapy, but he still will offer some type of advice and guidance directed at that problem. Similarly, that healer will offer Raj education based on his model or his approach or his view of Raj's condition. And finally, that healer is also going to offer Raj alternative ways of thinking and behaving and what he should do and what he should not do and how he should think and how he should approach the problem. But that alternative healer may not use the word cognitive behavior. The point here is that both you and the alternative healer are offering Raj non-specific psychotherapy. Now let's talk about few specific alternative healers. And before I show you a list of alternative healers, again, just to correct one myth that I've come across from people in the developing countries, that they think that herbal products and supplements and many products that are used in developing countries as local medicine or folk medicine or hikmah or those sort of medicines, they that's unique to those developing countries. That's not true. Even in developing countries like USA, Canada, UK, wherever there are pharmacies, there are full shelves of alternative therapies and alternative medicines or alternative remedies or alternative supplements. So you can buy different types of natural products. And when most of them are basically, they're regulated, but they're over the counter, so you don't need a prescription for them. In fact, even National Institute of Health of the United States of America has a National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health. And they encourage research on these products. They sort of monitor research, ongoing research. They provide information to the patient, education, and all that stuff. So now coming back to major types of healers with reference to psychotherapy, faith-based healing is most prevalent in developing countries, as well as it is seen in the developed countries. And I've listed 3 major religions in terms of where a lot of faith-based healers exist. Those are Hindus, those are Christians, and Muslims. So, because in most developed countries are Christians, and healthcare and what anybody can do to offer healthcare is strictly regulated, that's why what faith-based healers can do in developed countries is quite limited, and they can't cross the limits. They can't do anything that will hurt the patient, and because that can lead to a lot of legal problems. But in countries where healthcare is not regulated, people who don't have expertise may offer faith-based healing even for conditions where simple faith-based healing can prove quite dangerous to the health of that person. For example, trying to offer faith-based healing to somebody with cancer or somebody with a serious psychiatric illness or schizophrenia or epilepsy but at the same time, most common psychiatric problems in the developing countries are distress-related conditions. And as I talked about as I discussed in the second talk, distress-related symptoms are common. They are usually adjustment disorder in nature, meaning that there is a stressful situation going on that ultimately will resolve. So those people who are having those time-limited symptoms, they go to faith healers, and faith healers do offer them supportive sort of non-specific psychotherapy, and those patients feel better. And that creates that cycle of trust. So next time even that person or somebody in the same family feels sick, has similar symptoms, they go to the same faith healer. There's also an element of religious belief in that. So that's why knowing patient well is an important part of psychotherapy, and I'll discuss that in the next talk. Now, besides the faith-based healers, there are non-faith-based healers, and those are basically healers who use traditional local herbal medicine, or they are the healers who used natural types of treatments, or who used a holistic approach, just about incorporate lifestyle, healthy eating, healthy living, balanced diet. They may have a little bit of, okay, you have this problem, you should eat this more, or you should do this more and do this less, or based on their anecdotal observations or experience and all that. And many patients with psychosomatic symptoms will go to those non-faith-based healers. And they will get benefit, again, if they are not suffering from a condition that is serious, life-threatening, chronic, or if the condition is such that is mostly related to inflammation and stress. So if it's a stress-related or chronic inflammation-related condition, many of these treatments will offer extended benefits as well. Thirdly, and this is important, and because this pertains to us, I am a psychiatrist, psychosomatic medicine specialist. Whoever is listening probably is a psychiatrist or clinical psychologist or one of the allied professionals who deals with mental health issues. Our models are basically that we go beyond non-specific supportive therapy, and we use specific models of psychotherapy with emphasis on evidence-based forms. So we try to focus on, we know certain type of theory about therapy, and that therapy is practiced in a clinical environment, and then it's researched, and then we come out with evidence whether that therapy offers benefit or not. And if it does offer benefit, what is the extent of the benefit and how long does it last? And that's how we develop evidence-based psychotherapies. So that's different professionals, and I believe here is where this talk ends. As I have previously requested, please watch these videos in sequence, because they are topics that are sequential, and you won't understand a given talk completely if you haven't watched the previous videos. Also, if you find, please share these talks with other colleagues, with your friends, whoever is involved in dealing with mental health patients. Thank you very much. Bye.